You know Cheska?
Yeah.
I was having some conversation with some parents, and they're getting. I feel, but they never mention. They feel that being a homeschool kids is a bit weird, and they have this perception of we're keeping you inside the house only. You have antisocials, and how do you learn?
Like
And they thought that some maybe the our children has some concerns or challenges or problem. That's why we choose to be we choose our kids to be homeschooled. And another thing is they think that we're we're very budgeted, no? So they thought that because I think this family is budgeted because they put their family, all their kids,
homeschool.
especially for school, especially us. We have five. We are five in the family, no. So, what can you say about that? Okay,
Like
first of all, how do you how do you
address.
do your how do we what when we do the homeschooling with you? How do you feel that is it budgeted? So, so when I say budgeted, it means
We're
you
saving like
saving because you don't invest anything on learning. So maybe you can tell them how do you, so they could have a real perception or a real understanding of how what homeschool is in our family. Yes, I think some family has this kind of thing that about budgeted everything. That's why they choose homeschool. But there are family like us that it's not about budget, but it's about. I want you to tell it so that
oh
they will understand what we're
okay.
doing. No.
Yeah,
Uh,
I think these are very typical, what do you call this, reflection on homeschoolers because if you like notice in movies, that's like the typical homeschooler, like, oh, we're introverted, we don't have friends, we're antisocial. But then, in the budget way, we're actually not budgeted because if you can see in my back, my parents really invest in learning. We have hundreds of books. Any book I want, my dad and mom will support me. And actually, I've also really love music. So I've actually played 6 musical instruments. So my parents really, really, they're not budgeted. And like another
so what do
thing,
you mean when you say you play instruments? So
my parents enroll me,
do
and
you learn in a specialist like this,
yeah,
huh?
so it's really my passion. And homeschooling, it actually gives me the flexibility and richness of time. So instead of like hours studying this subject and like not really my passion, I'd rather focus on something that I could really achieve in the future world, which I also love agriculture. I mean, I'm still getting into it, but yeah. So I don't think homeschool the what's that word? The typical stereotypical type of homeschooling, I think it's just too broad and too one dimension to really point out that all homeschoolers are like that because everyone's different really in all aspects of life. So I really think that homeschoolers, we all have our different ways. So as much as possible, do not be super don't make it typicalized. Yeah. So
Yeah, because if
stereotypical,
you would
yeah.
look at it, there are a lot of traditional school students are very introvert and very,
Yeah.
let's say, a little bit weird. Can you say that?
Okay, so I
How can you what is your your analysis on those kinds of behavior about introvert about uh, antisocial.
yeah, so the word weird, I feel like everyone's weirdly unique in a way. No one's perfect.
Yeah,
Like if like you do this certain stuff, someone will think you're weird, but to other people it's normal.
normal.
So I don't think weird, but then antisocial really depends on the person. Like, do you know the term introvert, extrovert, ambivert? It's very universal, so it really applies to all human beings, not just to traditional school kids, because there's really different people. We have our own ways of developing. So I used to be introverted. I still am, but then when I really take up on leadership roles, I really step up.
So So where did you develop your communication skills? Did your parents and did we invest it on those things?
Yes.
Maybe you can tell them about that.
Yeah, so I actually I am a trained public speaker for TED Ed, and I've actually had lots of awards on best speaker. My parents really invested in my speaking and um, to really eloquate, like to be an eloquent speaker. And that's why I'm here right now. That's why my dad's interviewing me. Yeah, and another thing, I've actually really been interested in debate. That's just one spectrum that I like. But overall, I really like speaking up for certain crises that have on the world. So I really love speaking, and I also love mentoring my fellow peers. If like they need help, school, I'm always there. So that's just one thing that really makes homeschoolers unique. We have the flexibility of time. We don't only do academics, but then we also have a million or other types of extracurriculars.
So you mentioned you play different kind of instrument.
Yes.
So what are the instrument that you know how to play?
So I play piano. I did the violin, the ukulele, guitar, and kalimba. But actually I am composing songs like
Oh.
in piano, and I also compose songs in guitar.
So now, for the past year, we tried to do some hybrid traditional schooling,
Yeah.
homeschool, but you have a fixed class like this,
Yeah,
no?
so like online
So
school,
so that's for online school, no?
Mm-mm.
So but you have once a week
hybrid.
hybrid, so
Yeah.
going to school. So this is more of a fixed curriculum, di ba? So how did you feel that way? Because that's the but because this is a little bit hybrid, but most of the kids like you, they go to school every day and they have fixed schedule and fixed subject and fixed teacher to attend to. How do you feel? And di ba, we're deciding to go back to homeschool. So maybe people, some parents and some of the people will hear this. They have this impression of making their eyes bigger. Huh? We go back. You do tradition. You go back to homeschool. Why? So maybe you can give them insights on why like this.
Okay, so when I entered online schooling, so basically it's just online school. I have teachers, so
Fixed
yeah,
schedule.
fixed schedule, like everything's
So
there
so
laid
can you
out
can
for
you
me.
give what can you explain to them what is fixed schedule? So what time you have to wake up? So you have a class like this.
Class, homework, projects, a lot, and like at night. So my thoughts about school, since I did try it, and I also did one day school hybrid. Pero I really think the travel time is very inconvenient. Even though it's just once a week. But then my school's super far, so I wake up 5 a.m. Then like I take 30 minutes to get ready, then 1 hour and a half going to school. It's very inconvenient. But then, based on my observations in online schooling, actually, I do enjoy it because I had classmates, teachers. But then, one comment I really have to give is that they laid out the subjects for that grade. So, for example, I'm now learning world history and like the math, stuff like that. But then, I really think that if I really want to focus on my future, I might as well just start early because um, God has given us the time, like us, like as students, to really develop our skills as young as now. And you know, if for the near future, if I am really excelled in this certain spectrum that I really want to do in the future, I think it would be very beneficial for me rather than just learning subjects and then you cry because you have so much pressure in school and grades. It's also good pressure, honestly. I'm glad I experienced it, but then I really want to focus on something that I'm passionate about and something that I know that I will be, not know, like there's a percent chance I'm not, but something I know that I would really excel in my future because I have a life and like I have 40 years to do that, so I might as well start young.
Okay. So you mean you focus on one thing that you will specialize on it rather than learning everything like that?
Yeah,
Huh?
yeah.
So for you, you have learned the basic already. Do you think?
Not really. I think learning. I can learn. A goal I have in mind every day. I at least learn one new thing every day. And actually, I have a notebook because I really want to enhance my vocabulary. So I write down the words I don't know, and I really practice it on my everyday speech. Yeah.
So also my question is, of course, there are some subjects
Mm.
that you're not yet familiar because you're just what grade are you now?
8.
So you're grade 8. So
Yeah.
there are some subjects that you haven't touched or learned it yet.
Mm-mm.
Do you think you can learn it on your own, or how do you be innovative to learn it on your own, or you need to go to school to learn that, or what?
So, actually, homeschooling, if your mom isn't really well equipped with that subject, we usually tend to self study. And self study is just a beautiful process wherein we actually have our brains to develop. Unlike the teacher just giving it to you, then like you just, what's that word? You like just show like what you could do with the teaching. But then if you really self study, you really get into those steps. It's really way easier for me to learn. But it really depends with what type of learner you are, but that's just how I work. But then for math, I do need help with
Yeah.
because like math is hard. But then overall, yeah. So homeschoolers, we actually have
So when you
so
say you
much.
need help, because of course there are people, or there are some people, this is their problem. How can they learn from homeschool? So when you say help, how do you get help? YouTube, internet,
Mm,
or a real person, a real specialist that you ask for help. So you need to tell them. So how do you
so
get help? Yeah.
how they get help?
How do you get help if you don't know a certain
Ah,
subject or information that you need to know, formulas? So how do you get help? Because especially the adult would be asking that. How do they get help, diba?
yeah.
So how do you do it?
I think our generation right now very blessed with online. So I think everything's online. Like you just
Yeah,
search it up.
because information is
Yeah,
free
yeah,
already.
information's free already. So like it's really beneficial for me now, especially that I'm a student.
So you don't get help. So it's all online, or you
I
stay look for
it's
help
I
for a
also
specialist.
I also look for help specialists. Like sometimes not
Let's
everything's
say
online.
math. Let's say math.
Math,
Ah.
yeah, I need help in math. So like really understanding because math
So
is very
you have
diverse.
so you I think you ask for help to
Yeah,
get a tutor on the
yeah,
math, diba?
mm-mm.
Because your parents also can answer your math problems, diba?
Yeah,
So we were able to look for some math tutors regularly for you to be supported on the math issues,
yeah.
diba? Yeah.
I wanna add on. I remember grade 4, 5, 6. I actually in 7. I actually do not like math. But then praise the Lord. I've actually been doing very good in math. I got a really great score in my math, so I was really surprised with myself. I'm like, what? I can do that. So I think it's really the way that we perceive our studies. And I want to share. I read a book. It's called Atomic Habits. It's the system, not the goal. So before I was just so goal oriented, like, oh, I want to be math, I want to be so good at math. But then really learning, if the goal's just there and you don't do anything, nothing's gonna happen. That's why in homeschooling, I really work out with my system so that I could really achieve this certain goal that I want.
So you mean the
Yeah,
system, the process that you have
yeah,
to undergo every day. That's
yeah. It's
that's
important.
where you learn from, not
Yeah,
just the goal, no?
no, because you goal and you're not doing anything, nothing's gonna happen. If your system's also bulok, wala na yun. So, it's really important to have a very efficient system.
Okay, so I think you have to share to them one example so they could visualize what do you mean by system and process on your homeschooling journey. Yeah. Can
I
you
can
give them one example?
I can give a sport analogy. I actually am learning tennis right now, and my goal is to become a good tennis player. But how will I really do that? I really have to practice. So practice is the system and the process here. So that's how you a very simple way to define it.
Okay, so doing it every
Yeah,
day. So doing it
practice.
everything. And it's just like muscle. You have
Mm-mm.
to develop the muscle to become big muscles, diba? Strong muscles.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you have any regrets that you do, do you have any regrets that we're doing homeschool?
No.
What
Actually do
yeah,
not.
what is the best thing that you learned from being a homeschooled student?
Oh, I really like
A
this
homeschooled person,
question.
yeah.
Yeah. So every time I come across a person, usually a parent, they're like, "Oh, why you homeschooled?" Stuff like that.
So that's always the question.
That's
It's
always
always a
the
negative.
question. Yeah, it's so negative.
Yeah.
But then going back,
Even though it's not negative, but it feels like negative.
yeah. So going back to your question, one of the greatest benefits of homeschooling, I'm actually very active in volunteering. So I actually take on vice president roles, marketing. I've actually also been chosen, like emailed to speak in marketing events wherein I teach my fellow peers about more about marketing. And I've actually also been praise the Lord, because of my homeschooling years, when I went to school, I've actually been chosen to be student council, and I also became the class president. And I think really what benefits there in Homeschool Global, there's High Unite, so it really shapes us for the real world. So that's just what it is. So in homeschooling, I'm very much exposed to what um marketing is to really people, and like I actually became more extroverted. Yeah.
Okay, let's give it a more real talk now. Okay, what if you were into a traditional school and we did not do homeschool? What do you think? Okay, because you're coming from a homeschool. You think would be what would you be, or what would be advantages or disadvantages for you if you ano lang this is just a little bit presumption, but we need to have a real talk coming from a homeschool person, because usually, because some of the real talk, the traditional students or children or kids coming from traditional, they said we cannot imagine that we can do
Homeschool,
homeschool
yeah.
now. Let's do the other way. Do you think, okay, let's do the other way. Do you think if you go traditional school, what will happen based
Um
on your your opinion?
okay. So I just
So
want to
there's no right and wrong here because this is your opinion.
yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to point out every individual has different ways of learning perceptions. But then for me personally, this is about me. So really specifically me, I actually am very, what do you call this? I'm very grade, like in a way I care so much about my grades, too much to the way that I'm no longer balancing it. So I think that if I went to traditional school, I would be so pressured because I'm actually naturally a competitive person, and sometimes I tend to overdo it. But then as much as possible, I try to minimize it. But then I think in traditional school, I wouldn't. No, I'm blessed because I wouldn't really be exposed to having the richness of time, the flexibility that I have, and I would have, if I was in traditional school, I actually wouldn't have played my musical instruments, the sports, and I actually also have not been have the opportunity to head to be a leader in High Night, and I actually wouldn't also be a speaker, and I actually wouldn't be here right now. I would probably be studying for my next exam. Actually, I have an exam next week. Yeah, so I have to study after this. But yeah, that's just one thing, and I think I would be drained out. But for me, yeah, this is personally about me because I actually get drained out because I'm an overthinker. But as much as possible, I try not to be.
So usually, homeschool and traditional students are being compared.
Yeah.
So if you compare yourself to them, okay, it's not about bragging or flexing about you, but what do you think if you compare yourself naman to the other traditional students? Are there any difference, or you don't know which one is homeschool or which one is traditional? So that's because this answer is, of course, it's too broad.
Controversial.
It's
Yeah,
too
yeah.
broad, no. But let's put it in the context of real talk lang. So we're not, hindi namin sinisiraan yung traditional school, or hindi namin kasi syempre naka-homeschool kami. So just based on your opinion. So there's no right and wrong. Based on your opinion, how do you feel if you compare yourself to traditional school naman? Students.
So I don't think it's really fair to compare because we have our own flaws, and it's not, both of them are not flawless. There's also some pros and cons on whatever you want to believe in. And with much respect, I've actually I think it's really depends with the person talaga. So, there's amazing traditional school kids that really excel in life and also some homeschool kids. So I just think that most people really look down at homeschoolers just because they think very stereotypical. So I don't think it's also fair that you guys just have to, it's like the spectrum so broad, but then you guys just minimize it to one specific stereotype. And for traditional school, I know we also have mixed comments about it, but then I really think that it really matters on the person talaga, because you can really achieve things, but just not the way you learn, but how you also perceive life.
Yeah, that's right. So it's not about the school,
It's
the
not
name of
about
the
the
school,
school.
the brand of your school. It's not about the
It's
school. It's
about the
about the person.
yeah.
Diba?
Because you could really be in a really rich school that offers so many academics, but then if you really don't give your best, wala rin yun. So it's really important with the person.
Yeah, that's a beautiful answer. So this is all random, ano lang, spontaneous. We did not post anything. We did not prepare anything. I just tell them, Jessica, let's talk about homeschool lang. Let's do some vlogging and we just put our video camera and push the on button and there, we just
Yeah.
run this one. No prepared question. It's all simultaneous. But yung math question ko minsan, parang pangit. Diba? Yung ganda sagot ng anak ko. So,
Public speaking.
public speaking, and of course, it's coming from your heart and your brain, all your answer and your. So thank you so much. Do you think you want to add more? So before we end this,
What can I add? I think that people should start being, everyone's like, oh, you should be open-minded, stuff like that. But you guys also should be open-minded with homeschoolers, because don't disregard that homeschoolers are just this, because we can do as much as people can do. So we're all just humans. You can't just bring down a person just because you think that this spectrum is much more introverted, stuff like that. So I had to deal with that most of my life, because people always ask me, why you do homeschooling? Oh, you're like that pala. Just because we don't have academic achievements doesn't mean that we won't achieve the real world. So I think homeschooling, I think my parents.
when you say
Yeah.
you don't have academic achievement, what do you mean there?
So,
because some of the
yeah,
parents
yeah.
will raise their eyebrow again. So what does it mean? Okay, you have to be clear
So
on
like
that.
there's awards, certificates, stuff like that. But then I'm actually, my parents enrolled me in extracurriculars, so it's not basically on homeschool. But then I've actually got lot of achievements too. I've actually also won spelling bees. I won competitions. So just because we don't get that much doesn't mean that we have nothing to prove. So I went to school right this year. So that's basically an academic test. And praise the Lord, I actually for 3 quarters I've actually maintained the spot for top one.
So you beat all the traditional school
Yeah, so like
students.
that was just like an open mind for me. Like,
So
do not-
what was your eye opener on that situation? Yeah,
I'm like, wow, I can do this pala.
yeah.
Like I'm just like very blessed that I was able to study this in advance in homeschooling.
So you feel when you were doing homeschool, you're more advanced compared to them?
No, not in a way, but like I personally, I love advanced, like, oh, I love about this world war history. I love about the pre-industrialization, Renaissance, Reformation. I study in advance, and then when I went to school, I'm like, oh, I learned this na pala. So like it just like, wow, I already learned this. So it gives me also benefit, because like school, they really stick to the grades, what the kids learning. But for us, we can study in advance. So,
Okay.
I really think that it's
So
not.
the question maybe, who told you to do the advanced learning?
It's just me. Out of passion lang. I'm like, out of curiosity. I'm like, oh, what happened here? What happened the Holocaust? I learned a lot about it.
Okay, so
Yeah.
how do you learn it? Do you watch it? Do you
Yeah, I
read?
watch it. Watch videos. And then sometimes if I'm so curious, I usually spend like weeks on it. I'm like, and every day there's something to learn, really.
So you can say that you have the discipline and the what do you call this? The passion, or the passion to really learn and understand things that you don't know yet, like this.
Yeah.
Because you have the freedom of time.
Mm-mm.
Mm,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
right.
I don't want to brag, guys. I'm not bragging. I'm just saying that homeschoolers can do a lot more than you think. It also depends on the person actually. So if I wasn't disciplined and if I was shy and if I didn't care about grades, I wouldn't be here in today. So it really depends with the person. But I really think for the parents, I think it's really important to discipline your kids, but do it in the right way. Don't like pressure them. Like my dad, like my mom and dad, they actually never pressured me to be like achieve in school. It's just me. I really want to prove them that homeschooling is actually also very fun and convenient for everybody. So
So maybe you can explain that to them again. So what do we tell you to be number one always?
no, it's just
So
me.
what do we tell you?
It's like, oh, if you do good, like just get good grades, we're happy na.
Because the
But
important is the
yeah,
learning.
the
Diba?
learning, yeah, it's the learning.
Yeah.
But then I really want to show, because everything I do, I really give my best. That's one thing I do.
Yeah.
So I really want to excel, because my parents, they paid for that. And if I just screw that up, I'm like, oh, if I don't care, sayang rin their hard work. So for me personally, life is hard. So might as well start young and be disciplined. And I also want to be an eloquent person for future generations, because mind you that the generation right now are the future leader. There's so many highlights for us. So I think it's important right now, as young, I'm currently 15. I just turned 15, as young as now. I might as well just really do my best.
Yeah, so as a parent, we were very supportive to all our kids when it comes to learning. But we never pressured them to be the number one like this, to be very too competitive or to beat this other guy or to ano dyan,
Balance.
just keep learning. And whenever you learn something, it would just come up from your brain and from your mind. And it would be spontaneous and natural. Because there's you already learned it, no? Other people haven't learned it, and they're trying to learn pa lang, no? So that's how we're very supportive. We never pressure because we just make sure our kids enjoy learning, and we were always supportive to them. Of course, kids sometimes doesn't want to learn. Also, they get lazy.
Yeah,
So
I get that too.
so how do we do? Can you share that to them? How do your parents support you when it comes to learning that you feel that it's not worth it on learning it when you were young like this? So example, some math issues, diba? Dati you don't want to do it, diba? Or writing like this. So but what did we do? Did we get mad? Did we force or yeah? I think when you were young, we
Yeah.
forced something
Of
to you
course we need it.
because there were no discipline yet, diba? That now you already understand that you know to learn, you need to learn it, diba? Yeah. So
My answer to that, if you're like my age, you're watching this, or younger than me, the Gen Alpha, 2010. Um, Honestly, what my dad said, you know, this at the early age of studying, I actually cried a lot because it's so overwhelming, especially our brains still developing. But then, it's really, your parents are really trying to mold you. They're really, as early as you're young, they're really trying to discipline you now for the real world. Because, grabe, my dad said the real world is like a lot. So, school, that's just like the basic of life mo na. So, I think that's it. Yeah.
okay. So what are some nag-isip ako ng mga tanong, no, na pwede itanong sa aking anak, no. So do you think I'm not, you're still 15 eh. So you're still high school. I gotta ask you some real life questions.
You can go. I can try answering.
You have to try to answer.
I can try. I'll try my best though.
Yeah, because of course, maybe you can share to them the one language that you know how to speak, and we were surprised that you were studying and learning it. Can you do some sample? Can you tell them that?
My accent's kinda
So what's that? What language is that?
French.
French. So what inspired you to learn on your own to speak French?
Cause I wanna also add on homeschooling. We have the chance to travel around the world. So when I traveled with my mom, I went to France, and then I also went to Korea. Then I noticed they always use French, like for the restroom, the water. and like they always
Of course,
use
that's in Europe or that's in France.
Europe too, Portugal.
So in Europe, okay,
Yeah,
that was
not
your
all
exposure.
naman. So
Okay,
I'm like, wow, I want to learn French because it's just like an amazing language, and also I like European history.
okay.
Yeah.
So can you give me a sample of? Can you
Ah,
show them to them? Because
wow.
I want to hear this. Some of
Anxious.
your French practices. Do
I'm
it.
I'm not the best, guys. I just learned like 6 months ago.
Okay.
I kind of stopped learning, but bonjour, désolé, mon français, tu es bon? Je m'appelle Jessica. Yeah, that's all.
So
I
so
um
maybe you can say the weather today is rainy and
no,
we are
not yet.
inside the house like that.
No,
So can
not
you
yet.
not yet.
Um,
So
yeah, that's what I'm learning right now. I'm learning to introduce like the basics.
okay.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. So I'm also exposed to linguistics.
okay. So next language sana Mandarin no.
Like 你好，我叫写秀梅. That's all. That's my name. Yeah.
Okay. So do you want to say more? I think I don't want to. I have no more question as of the moment.
What do I say to everyone, like generalized audience, about like learning or
Yeah, because the reason is because many people are really puzzled about homeschooling, and there is some parents that are doing homeschooling right now and really thinking twice, thinking thrice, thinking four until 10 times. We still continue doing homeschool because I got some feedbacks, and when parents approach us and observe my kids, they were really planning to go back to traditional school, but when they see my kids, I have 5 kids by the way, and all homeschool all the way, from 4 or 5 years old, they were already homeschooled till my eldest is 17 now, still homeschooled. So he's senior high. So going college lang, that's the time that he'll go to a real school. And Cheska is my second. And everyone, okay, my youngest is 10 years old. 10 years old, ba? 9 years old, yeah, 9 years old. My youngest is 9 years old, and they're all homeschooled. So maybe you can tell them why how do you feel when parents feel that they're not so sure of will we continue doing homeschool because they feel that they don't see any improvements on their kids, or maybe they feel unconfident anymore, not confident anymore to themselves to become the teacher, or they feel something. And of course, as a parent, you want to invest, and you really need to invest. Okay, money is an issue for homeschool. Yes, for me, because you cannot teach everything to your kids. You need to look for some specialists, and specialists, when you hire specialists, of course, it's not for free. So you need to really invest on this. Okay, actually, when I was doing we were doing homeschool, I told my wife that we really have to invest on the education and the knowledge of our kids, because ito na lang yung talagang ipapamana natin na hindi mawawala, hindi mananakaw, at hindi masusunog or ma-expired. Okay? This is a very good investment. The knowledge, the attitude, the IQ, the EQ that we would teach in our home, in their homeschool journey. So
that question.
so that's where the parents should understand this, okay? Because most people, when business people or business owner or entrepreneur, they will ask, where will you invest if you have something to invest? Okay, so for me, my answer is I invest on my kids' knowledge, intellectual, and attitude. So that's how we develop. Because one time when they grow up, I expect that they won't go to us and ask something. And mama, papa, pahingi. And that's not our job. But I hope that during this time, of course, bata pa mga anak ko, one day I believe that they could live on their own. they can prove on their own and stand on their own. And they will be very independent. No? So they will be a very responsible, God-fearing person in their future life. And also with when they build their own family also. So when do you do that? Okay, as a parent, we do that when they were still young and under our care. So now that's why we're putting all our investment on our kids, no? So yeah, it involves also time, no? Of course, these are kids and they are people that they want time also. Okay, so even though sometimes very busy sa work or sa business, I also give time to them, no? Because they need that. No? So we have to understand our why we do homeschool and why we invested.
I can
Because
add on.
we did not put our kids sa school and let the school teach them everything. School cannot teach them everything. And usually people learn by modeling, to seeing the model. Okay, so who's the model that they would see? Do you gusto mo ba yung teacher? Of course, it should be the parent. So, importante yung how we spend how we tawag to? Live our life because our life are being oversee or being seen by our kids, and this is how they would be. So you want to add something?
Yeah, let's end it with the bang. So yeah, most of you guys, another tip for the parents. Now I'm young, but then based on like speaking for my generation, you guys, we actually need your support, and guys have to be hands-on, especially if you want to do homeschooling. You really have to be there for your kids. If you're just gonna be there like, oh, why are you not doing this? Like you expect them not to like be overachieve. You can't do that. They really need your support. And like what my mom and dad keep saying to me, it's really important really to learn and to encourage your kids to learn because wisdom, the knowledge you learn, cannot be taken away from you. But then those earthly goods could easily be taken away from you within a second or even in a snap. So it's really important to like support your kid, and you just know that, just like remind them that you're there for them, like what my parents and my mom and dad would always do. And another thing I could add on is that never doubt the kids, because everyone has emotions, and you're just there to prepare them for the real world and support them. So this is just a thing about homeschooling. I know it's not for everybody, but then for me it works for me, and this is what I want to do. And I hope that we cleared up most stereotypical consumptions or like thoughts about homeschooling. Just know, and the last reminder, that everybody's different. Everyone perceives the negative silver linings in different aspects of life. So that's just one last reminder that we're all different and we're unique. That's all.
Okay, so I think let's end this, no?
Yeah.
Grabe, spontaneous lang to. We did not plan anything. So thank you so much if you stay until here. So magpapa-like, subscribe, and follow na rin ako for this. So like, subscribe, follow. Baka ulitin namin to and more videos like this, so that if you feel that you're learning something and you want more video like this, I can talk to all my kids and explain their side. So that if you're really exploring about how to invest on the right thing, so this is the best thing. Invest on your kids for me. So invest in the lives of your kids. No? So one is sa amin is we homeschool them, no? And we were really there for them. So thank you so much. Paalam na kami. Bye.
Bye. Bye.